This episode is brought to you by Collector Mount. Don't let the great artwork from your DVDs, Blu-rays, and records sit in your closet. Get them up on your wall with Collector Mount. Go to collectormount.com and enter code LATEFEE25 for 25% off your order.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me, as always, is my co-host Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. How about you?
I'm kind of pissed, but this is take two for the podcast. We recorded yesterday. We usually record on Tuesdays so that we can get it up on Patreon on Wednesday, so that our patrons have a full 24 hours early access to the show before it goes out on Thursday to everyone else. And I messed up on the audio side of things, and Mike's audio was basically illegible. So, yeah, and I'm so pissed because it was such a good episode. I know that some people might say we never had any gold, but the episode was gold. I'm telling you. We're going to push on and try to do just as good of an episode for everyone. I contemplated just quitting the podcast altogether. No, I didn't. But
I do that every day.
But yeah, so I guess to start off, I'll try to kind of recreate what I said the first time around. Yeah, we've had a pretty good week. We've been in more contact with some other podcasts. The local independent podcasts seem to really band together in a pretty nice community, which is nice. We're probably going to have a guest, or we plan on having a guest 2 weeks from now on our podcast that we record on the 29th. I think they'll go out the 31st. And then we had the Movie Geek and Proud podcast. Their promo was on our last episode. They're doing a promo for us, I think, in a week or two. They also connect a lot with the other podcasts, which is great. And we've got some other things in the works as far as doing some partnerships with some other independent podcasts and to help cross-promote all of our shows.
Yeah, Mark's putting out like 3 podcasts a week by himself, this guy.
Yeah, that's right. We, if you haven't checked it out, check out the Retro Late Fee. We did episode 3, which is January 15th, 1994. We're going week by week as if it's exactly 25 years earlier. So right now we're in 1994. You know, I hope that we get into 99, 2000. Obviously, it'll take us 5 to 6 years to get in there. But 99 especially was a really good year for movies. 94 also a very interesting year. The Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, a host of other things came out in 94. So that's part of the reason why we started with that one. But yeah, we've got a lot of podcasts. And we also have the audio commentaries, which I think are tremendous. We just did one for Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and we try to do those about twice a month or so. You should definitely check those out on Bandcamp. Obviously, that's all linked below. I'll also do some tweets coming up here specifically just for the audio commentaries. We try to do a lot of stuff on Netflix so that it's easy to listen, to listen along as you watch on mute. But you can also just, there are some audio commentaries from different podcasts that I just listen to the audio commentaries. So that can be enjoyable too. I guess we'll get into the news, Mike. The first news that I have is that, and I'm sure all this news will be a surprise to you, because it's not like we just did it yesterday. But coming to
if it helps, I wasn't really paying attention.
That's good. That's the one time that comes in handy. But coming to
comes in handy more than you think.
Coming to America has a sequel coming out. It's gonna star
What?
It's gonna star Eddie Murphy, and the title is Coming to America, but the 2 is a number 2. So that's fun. But
Wait, I thought you said yesterday it was TOO.
no, it's a numeral 2.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't make sense if it's TOO. I don't know why I thought that.
So they talked to John Amos, who portrayed McDowell, owner of McDowell's, not to be confused with McDonald's, and he says that in his mind that McDowell's would be selling like zebra and elk burgers now. So that's an idea that they might.
Jeez, how old is this guy? Like 79 or something like that?
Very good guess. He is exactly 79.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
But the creative team is meeting right now. Obviously, they haven't started filming yet, but they have Eddie Murphy on board, and I believe Arsenio Hall is not confirmed, but it's widely believed that he will do it. The director that directed...
He's probably not doing anything that day.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm guessing his calendar's free.
I really don't understand why Arsenio Hall didn't go on to be a big movie star. He's really good in all the stuff I've seen him in.
I agree. I like him in a lot of different movies that I've seen him in. And even his talk show was okay, especially at the beginning. But yeah, he's funny and charismatic. I guess so. We'll move on to our next story, which is Game of Thrones season 8 has a release date. April 14th, 2019, coming up fairly soon. So I know everyone's excited about that. I'm sure you and your wife are excited about Game of Thrones season 8. Everyone wants to see how this is going to end. And like I said yesterday, they're beyond the books now, so there's no real telling as to how they're going to end it.
Aren't you glad in a way that you weren't a fan of the books from the start?
Yeah, I
think the first book came out in 1993.
Yeah.
And they've only released 5 books since 1993.
I'm a big fan of Stephen King, and I thought I waited a long time for the Dark Tower series that he did, that 7-book series, to end. That actually started before I even started reading Stephen King books. I think the first one was published in '83, but it wasn't really widely read. It was published by Donald M. Grant, a limited edition publisher. I think it started to finally get widely read around 90, 91 or so, and he finished it, I want to say 2004. So
yeah, it's 21 years, a long time.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny. I saw a quote that I thought was
going on 25. George R.R. Martin.
I saw a quote.
26.
I saw a quote that I thought was very humorous. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was the tenor of it was George R.R. Martin, and it's a quote that's attributed to a lot of different people, but it was basically like it was kind of like about writer's block, and it was something like how hard it was to finish, writing something once you've started, and then someone put a fictional quote from Stephen King next to it that said, "I just can't stop. Somebody please help me." Which I thought was hilarious. And George R.R. Martin and Stephen King have done some stuff together, not writing wise, but have made appearances together. I guess they have a sort of friendship, and I just thought that was hilarious because that really is true. Stephen King writes a lot.
Yeah, I saw it was like an interview. They were like interviewing each other. I don't know where it was, or whatever, but it was George R. R. Martin going, "How do you write so fast?" That's literally, he literally asked him, "How do you write so fast?"
Yeah, they are definitely very different because even though Stephen King took 20 some years to finish the Dark Tower, books, in that period of time he also wrote like 30 other books. So it's not like he wasn't doing anything. But
George R. R. Martin does stuff that's there's a thing called wild cards. It's I think it's comic characters, but in novel form. I'm not really sure. He does those. He just does so much other stuff that just enrages people who are waiting for him to finish at least one more book of the Game of Thrones. It's hey, a new book out. Oh, a history of Game of Thrones. It's no one cares.
Yeah, I think it was earlier this year I saw that he released a book that, was like you're talking about, not a continuation of Game of Thrones. And I just thought to myself, is he just trolling fans now?
I think he is at this point. I think he's got the other two books written already.
They're just all in a safety deposit box and he just wants to see how far he can take this.
Wouldn't it be great if he just like released both of them like the day before the premiere of the series?
Oh my god,
Like last season.
that'd be awesome. Oh, oh man. But let's see. I'm not going to talk about Fry Fest because I didn't think that was that interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't really either, so I'm glad you're cutting that one.
Netflix is
I
increasing.
did like to know that Ja Rule was up to something though.
That's true. Ja Rule is now a defendant in the Southern District of New York for this
And
festival.
for the record, we still don't know who is it Emily Ratajkowski?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, and
We
that's
don't know who that is.
for those of you who don't know, and that's everyone, since no one's going to hear the terrible audio that we recorded yesterday, we were confused as to one of the attendees of the festival, Emily Ratajkowski. I don't know. Emily, I have a Polish last name, actress, who I've never heard of and have never heard of anything that she's done.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if she's a model or an actress or what exactly she does.
Who knows anymore? But Netflix is increasing their prices for about $2 a month. So if you've got that plan that's like $11 a month, it's gonna be $13 a month pretty soon. Part of the reason is I read something that just astounded me that last year Netflix spent $8 billion on original programming, movies and television, which is unfathomable. And they're also adding $2 billion more in debt apparently as well. So they're looking to gain some more money. I still don't understand how Netflix makes a profit, but they do. I don't know. I think they're following that Amazon model where it's like, let's just lose money until we get big enough to have a bunch of
Not
money.
have it possible to lose money.
Right, exactly.
That was exactly the Amazon strategy. Like, oh, they still haven't made money, and then like, oh, he's the richest man in the world.
Yeah, I guess it worked. I don't know exactly how they did it, but doing the retro late fee stuff, and again, check that out.
You should offer stock tips on that thing.
Right. But they I've been doing a lot of, we talked about the internet in this last episode, and I was reading about it to kind of know what we could say and what we couldn't say. And Amazon started in 1994, so they were around way before I thought that they were around. And it's just crazy to think about where they've come from that point to now.
Yeah, I was in general an early adopter of technology, so I was aware of them. I was buying books from them like in '98 or so, whenever I was old enough to have my own, like bank card or something like that. And
Right.
they just had books at first. It's like, oh, look, they got a couple more things, and then now it's, oh, look, they have. Actually, I'd say they have a wide variety of things, but not a very deep selection of most things. Like I'm really into archery, and they have like two bows that you actually want to buy on there. If you want to really get the fine details of any hobby, you probably would want to go elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely places I think that are more specialized in certain things. But yeah, you're right. They have their product selection is sort of shallow but very wide because they cover basically anything you could think of. It's just they might not have the best selection of everything. But speaking of Netflix, we'll move into what we've been watching, and obviously we're doing our main topic is streaming shows. So a lot of that stuff that we've been watching we'll be covering in that. But I watched Bird Box, the movie, which is sort of a sensation. And also, I forgot to mention this last time, so many people are doing the stupid as hell Bird Box challenge where people are blindfolding themselves and doing everyday activities like driving a car or walking down a crowded street, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Sometimes I think that people are just getting dumber, but I also think that maybe people have just kind of always been this dumb, and we just haven't heard it. But people eating Tide Pods and people.
Yeah, I think it's just we're more aware of things with the communications offered by the internet because, like, with police violence, it was a surprise to some people, but people like in certain communities and stuff, they're like, yeah, they've been doing this and we've known for years. But
Right.
now that everybody has a cell phone, and like a video camera, or same thing essentially these days, it's like, okay, now we actually have evidence, so people have to believe what we're saying.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like everybody when I like Do the Right Thing came out, or well, not Do the Right Thing, but the why can't I think of the name? Boys in the Hood. When Boys in the Hood came out, everyone was like, "Oh, the LAPD is super violent and racist." It's like black people have been like, "Yeah, we've known that since 1964." But yes, it's a similar sort of thing. But yeah, so Bird Box, I didn't love it. The big thing to me is, and like I told you, it's sort of like The Happening. That's what it reminds me of a little bit. But and a little bit of A Quiet Place. Although instead of you can't make noise, you can't look around. But
Is this the new trend in horror movies?
yeah,
It's all based on a sense you're not allowed to use.
right, take away a sense. There's gonna be a new horror movie where you can't taste anything.
Yeah.
Don't taste your food, or else
It'll be called English Cooking Show.
everything's boiled. But yeah, so it stars Sandra Bullock, and she basically.
Some people thought that Julia Roberts was in this, but it is for sure Sandra Bullock.
I
know.
heard that recently that somebody thought that. But yeah, Sandra Bullock's in it, and basically some sort of demons or something. The monsters are never fully explained, really. Just one person's theory of them. But they come down, and if you look at them, then you go insane and you want to kill yourself, which is what reminds me of The Happening about it. But anyway, so. The thing that I don't like about this movie, the thing that I think they get really wrong is the framing device. They start out with Sandra Bullock on a river with two kids, and then they go 5 years earlier when this thing starts happening, and it deflates any tension out of the movie. She's with a group of people, one of the other one's pregnant, and Sandra Bullock's pregnant, so immediately you know they're all gonna die. One of the kids is Sandra Bullock's, one of the kids is this other girl. And there's certain tense parts of the movie that would be tense. Like there's a birthing scene where also, I forgot to tell you this yesterday, they both coincidentally give birth at the exact same time. So that's convenient. But so they give birth, and this guy, see, if you're a normal person and you see these things, you go insane. If you're insane and you see these things, you turn into an asshole that just wants everyone else to see it. So these crazy people go around trying to force people to see these monsters or whatever and go insane. So he tries to take these freshly 1 minute old newborn babies and expose them to this thing. Now, this scene would be incredibly tense if I didn't know that the kids definitely live and are definitely okay 5 years from now when they're 5 years old. And when you're making a thriller movie, it's kind of important to not know what's going to happen next. That's what makes it a thriller. So the whole structure of the movies is way off, and I don't think Sandra Bullock does a particularly great job in this movie. But unfortunately, I did not really like Bird Box that much. Good ideas in the movie, poorly executed.
Do you think that if you were to watch a Sandra Bullock movie and they put Julia Roberts in it instead, how long do you think it would take you to notice that they had changed out the actress?
I don't know. Maybe I think I could go a good 15 or 20 minutes without. See,
I don't think I've really seen any much of either of their movies. I've seen like Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts, but I can't really think of any other Julia Roberts movies I've seen. I honestly don't even know. Maybe Ocean's 11.
What about Speed?
Yeah, that's Sandra Bullock though.
Oh, it is? No. But yeah, she's in Ocean's 11, which I guess is a connection between them because Sandra Bullock's in Ocean's 8, the It's not a prequel, even though it sounds like it is, but it's just another heist movie, but there are fewer people.
And fewer viewers, from what I've heard.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they should. It's I've never seen them in a movie together. Has Sandra Bullock and Julia Roberts ever been in a movie together?
Not one I've watched.
They could be the same person.
Oh, actually, no. I actually would be Sandra Bullock. I saw she was in the movie Murder by Numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
She's really good in that. That's a good movie.
But you know what a good Sandra Bullock movie is Mystic Pizza.
Julia Roberts, I think.
Yep. Oh, but yeah. So that is there is one new piece of news that I saw today that we didn't cover yesterday.
It'll make it all worth it. Go on, Mark.
That's right. Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, has said that he is making another reboot of the Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah, I heard that too, actually.
A reboot of Ghostbusters. This one will take place in the Ghostbusters universe, unlike the reboot of Ghostbusters with the Paul Feig one is a remake. It's not even really a reboot. It's a remake, like almost a beat for beat remake of.
Isn't any iteration of the Ghostbusters technically in the Ghostbusters universe, though?
Well, this one they're the first in the Paul Feig one. They're the first ones to ever do it. So there was no original Ghostbusters movie in that universe. So, like, they didn't. I kind of understand.
Which doesn't make sense because Dan Aykroyd makes a cameo, which is probably the same character.
I think he's just supposed to be a cab driver. I guess.
Yeah, but how is that cab driver any different from the character? Was it Venkman he played?
No, he played. Stance, maybe.
I don't know, but whoever he played, he basically was the same character.
Venkman was Bill Murray. Egon was the late Harold Ramis, obviously. Winston was Ernie Hudson.
The great Ernie Hudson from
Ray Stantz. That's right. That was
Ray. That's what they called him.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. But they're all in it at some point. But yeah, so they're gonna do a reboot. No word as to whether or not they're going to assemble the original cast. I can't imagine that Bill Murray is jumping at the chance to do another Ghostbusters movie. They're in my opinion, I know you don't like even the original Ghostbusters, but in my opinion, Ghostbusters 2 is okay, but it's not it's not the same as the original Ghostbusters, and I don't even know why they're doing this. Just make a different movie. Jason.
Yeah, that's our tagline of our show. Make a different movie.
Yeah. Like Jason Reitman, you want to do something sort of like your dad Ivan did in the 80s. Okay, make a horror comedy fantasy movie of your own. Just, sit down with a writer, come up with an idea, and write a script. I'm so sick of these reboots. I don't want to see another Ghostbusters movie. I really don't. I will not go to the theater to see this. I don't care how good the trailer looks. And even if they make an amazing movie, I'll be waiting for it to come out on streaming to see it.
If you could cast the movie, who would you cast?
I don't even know. If they're not going to go with the original ones, and this is sort of like a passing the baton thing, I would be okay with them doing a mix of men and women. I think maybe that's the best solution. I don't know, but you have to. If the movie was going to be good, it starts with the script. In my opinion, that's where the reboot failed. I like a lot of the performers that were in the Ghostbusters reboot movie, but I didn't like the movie because they didn't write a good script. They just pointed a camera at them and said, "Improvise." And
is that what it was? Yeah, like you said, I thought the performances were good, but the jokes were dumb. I did like the the blonde guy. I don't know his name.
Oh, Hemsworth.
Liam or Chris Hemsworth? Yeah. I don't know.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, but he was funny, in his very limited role, just because of how ridiculous his character was.
Yeah, he was funny, and there's a example of when ad-libbing can work. And even in the original Ghostbusters, Bill Murray did some ad-libbing, although not as much as people think he did. Some people think that he ad-libbed his entire part in the movie. He didn't. He did some ad-libbing in that movie, but when you limit it to one person, or one like area, one scene of the movie, of a movie like this, then it can work. You know, you can have a movie that's almost completely ad-libbed, but you know, like that's like Bridesmaids. That's part of the reason why Bridesmaids is funny. When you have a broad kind of concept comedy like
Whoa,
that.
abroad? Is that the word you want to be using here? It's not the 1950s anymore, Mark.
I'm sorry, when you have a female, no, but when you have a expansive comedy like that, you can get away with having everyone ad-lib your lines. But when it's a high concept like this, you need a tight script. And if you look at the original Ghostbusters movie is really just four guys starting a business. Like that's the plot of the movie is them starting a small business and everything that they kind of encounter along the way. It's actually it's one of the most libertarian movies that I've ever seen, because one of the villains is the EPA. You know, they deal with different regulations and stuff like that. I mean, it's very capitalistic in nature, as they're trying to, you know, they're taking a chance. They put 3 mortgages on Ray's house, and you know, they're trying to make money. They get some success, they get some media coverage. It's really, but if you strip away the outside elements of the ghosts and stuff like that, the brunt of the plot of the movie is 4 guys trying to start a business, you know, against, and like, you know, the EPA, the mayor and stuff, they all kind of stand in their way of starting this business. And I think that's a big thrust of the original movie. And that's part of what makes it work, is that they have that underpinning of a plot, and then they add the fantastical elements and the humor on top of that. And that's kind of where I think the reboot failed. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to this Ivan Reitman one either. And I will not be going out to the theater.
Jason Reitman.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jason Reitman. But speaking of things we're not looking forward to, we'll move on to our segment, Educating Mike. This is where we take a...
I think we could trim this one quite a bit.
This is where we take a comic book or a movie or a book or whatever that Mike is somewhat unfamiliar with, and
that's what you would think.
we read him the plot to kind of expand his pop culture horizons. Today, we're going to look at something from Uwe Boll, the German restaurateur and film director, who has made a career out of tax loopholes for his films. But when the movie Rampage came out, I remember hearing this story that Uwe Boll was pissed off that they were using the term, the title Rampage, because he has a series of movies titled Rampage, a trilogy, if you will, of films called Rampage. And, you know, like I said, he makes movies based on video games a lot, or he did before he retired in 2016. I have no idea how he doesn't know that this movie is based on a popular arcade game from the 80s and has nothing to do with his movies. But on his website, he had this quote about it. "We are living now in a world where independent movies are dead and the big players only are making all the money. That they then use developed brands and ideas from established series such as my Rampage films in order to make even more money is unfair but typical. The new, in all caps, Rampage movie will shrink my brand and my revenues I can make in the future with my Rampage movies. It also confuses the audience. I want that Warner's change the title, especially because the new movie has nothing to do with a rampage and looks more like Jumanji 2 and is one of those typical feel-good popcorn bullshit movies that the studios use to brainwash America even more. All these kind of movies, including Transformers, Avengers, are helping the military-industrial complex in America to win and have retards like Trump be American president who would say that the earth is flat as soon as they think they can benefit from this. So, as you know, Mike, since we talked about this already, I thought it was very humorous that he brings up the military-industrial complex when referring to why this Rampage movie is so bad, because we're going to read the plot of all three of Uwe Boll's Rampage films, and we'll see which one is more violent. So, Rampage 2009 by...
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think someone went to go see the movie with The Rock called Rampage, and then when they saw a few minutes, they stormed out of the theater going, I thought this was a continuation of the Uwe Boll movie. You're directly damaging his brand, and I will no longer give him any money for fear of being confused again.
I doubt that happens. But I think it would be funny if it was. It would be as funny as if someone was watching the movie Amistad and stood up and said, "That's not Mendy." Oh my god. Oh, so
how many people do you think Uwe Boll thinks did that? 100?
Yeah, probably thousands. In the fictional town of Tenderville, Oregon, just a tender place, Bill Williamson, a 23-year-old man. You know, it's funny. Later, we're going to find out that we don't know the name of Bill Williamson's dad, that it's just Mr. Williamson. But I love that we know Bill Williamson's exact age.
Right.
So, a 23-year-old man is living with his parents and working a low-paid job as a mechanic, which, again, I'm pretty sure mechanics out there, let me know. You guys make decent money at least, right? I mean, they make it sound like he's making $7 an hour. I'm pretty sure if you're a trained mechanic that you're making more money than that.
Well, I mean, how old is this guy?
23.
Oh, okay. Well, he's probably at the entry level.
I'm not sure what his dad's name is, but I know how old he is.
You know, I just realized, and I wonder if I bet this is why this is. This takes place in Oregon, which is kind of a weird. I mean, it's not often that movies like the setting's Oregon,
right?
But I believe isn't Rambo set in Oregon? Oregon.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it is.
Either that or Washington. I don't remember which, but I wonder if the location's a reference to Rambo.
Probably.
Also, these movies, as we'll discover, very badly rip off Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Yes,
like real bad.
Yes, they do. I didn't think about that last night, but they really do. I love that movie too, Falling Down.
That's such a weird movie.
It is really weird.
I don't understand what the point of the movie is.
I don't know. I guess just Michael Douglas is mad at the world.
It's just a show. It's just a bunch of bizarre executions done by Michael Douglas's character.
And then he stops at the end because he loves his daughter or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like he's gonna get away scot-free.
No, not at all. But
unlike in Rampage.
Yeah, but will Bill Williamson get away scot-free? We'll see. Feeling bombarded with the problems of the world by ubiquitous TV sets, radios, and the outspoken political views of 21-year-old Evan Drintz, who seems to be his sole friend, Bill's parents ask him to move out, and Bill leaves for work, stopping to get a coffee along the way, and argues with the shop owner when he is unsatisfied with his coffee. No detail about why he's unsatisfied with his coffee, though. What could be so unsatisfying about his coffee from this coffee shop? I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he's never been there before. I don't know.
At work, his boss interrupts him while Bill is working on a personal vehicle off the clock. The boss then condescendingly dismisses Bill's request for a raise. And why is he working on a personal vehicle? You know, they don't ever link this up, but later we're going to find out that Bill uses a vehicle for something. I won't spoil it yet, but I wonder if that's what he was doing. Back at home, Bill prints out fake money and then constructs a suit of AR-500 steel body armor, complete with a ballistic helmet and a paintball mask. Armed,
I like how it's a ballistic helmet, but a paintball mask.
right? Armed with 2 submachine guns, 2 semi-automatic pistols, and 2 knives, he heads into the center of town. First, he incapacitates the police by car bombing their headquarters with a remote-controlled bomb-loaded van. He then it's so crazy. It's like a bug. It's like a Bugs Bunny thing.
I think this is an early example of where we both kind of realize that Uwe Boll, just like when he ran himself into a corner, he just makes something up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he didn't ever want to go back and change it. He's like, a bomb? He's got bombs. He's a mechanic.
How do you use the backspace key? I don't know.
Uwe can only go forward.
He can never delete.
He considers it retreating from his art.
I don't want to be like the French. He then walks through the streets, shooting people at random with the submachine guns, and stops to taunt and later kill the coffee shop owner.
He really didn't look like coffee.
Not enough cream. 2 police officers
Is that what he said?
No.
Oh, I say that's weird.
That would probably be a line in the movie, though.
Because they say that psychopaths actually like they're more known to like their coffee black. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Oh, no, that's interesting. Far be it from Uwe Boll to get a detail wrong. 2 police officers open fire on him, but Bill's armor blocks the bullets, and he kills both officers. He goes into a salon filled with several hiding women and takes off his mask in order to get a drink before leaving without shooting anyone, which is nice, but then returns after realizing he revealed his identity to the salon occupants, all of whom he kills. Bill goes unnoticed.
What a character this guy is.
So, I just love that Bill goes unnoticed into a bingo parlor, orders a sandwich, harasses the host, and leaves without shooting anyone, believing the elderly patrons are already close enough to dying.
He said something shitty on the way out, too, right?
Right.
Well, it looks like the Grim Reaper will be here soon enough.
He then enters a local bank, killing the security guard before shooting some of the employees and customers who attempt to subdue him. He proceeds to rob the bank, forcing the manager to empty a safe full of money into a plastic trash bag. That's another thing that's weird that I didn't think about yesterday. But what do they mean? Like, do they mean one of those big vaults, or do they mean that the bank just had a tiny safe?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not very clear. I can see either one.
Outside the bank, he secretly switches the money he stole with his fake money and burns the bag in a trash can, shouting that money is worthless and causes the problems of the world. This is so weird. Why? Why did he even print the fake money and burn it?
It doesn't make any sense.
After killing a restaurant waitress to reinforce the case that Evan, who had argued with the waitress, was the killer, that both these guys seem like assholes to people in the service industry. The coffee shop and now the waitress.
Yeah.
Bill calls Evan, who is in a forest nearby, expecting him for a mano-a-mano paintball competition. Bill drives to the forest and is pursued by several police officers, led by Sheriff Melvoy. Bill kills most of the officers with explosives and flees into the forest, pursued by Melvoy, the only surviving policeman. When he arrives at the forest, Bill ambushes Melvoy, stabbing him and leaving him to die. Finding Evan, Bill immobilizes him with a stun gun and then places one of his pistols in Evan's hand, shooting him in the head to give the illusion of suicide. Bill puts the armor and suit and weapons on Evan's corpse, leaves the forest, and burns the remaining evidence in a barrel. Bill then returns home before his parents arrive with horror stories about the killings in town. While they are conversing in front of the television, news stations report that they have identified the killer as Evan, and that at least, well, who though? He just said all the police were dead. So who identified, who investigated this? At least 93 people have been killed in the rampage. In his room, while packing his belongings and the stolen bank money, Bill hears a local television news report that police have arrested Evan's father, an activist during the Vietnam War era, who is accusing Bill of the crime and claiming the innocence of his son. And, okay, so first of all, who's arresting him, since all the police are dead? And second of all, why? Just because he's saying, my son didn't do this, I bet that Bill guy did?
Right.
That's a crime.
All the crimes that occur in this movie.
The story concludes with a home video of Bill announcing his departure on a personal quest to unknown whereabouts to further reduce the world's population. A text indicates that Bill had disappeared from that point on, and 2 years later, his video recording found its way onto the internet.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in this movie. It's just sounds like a mess.
So that is Rampage 1. I guess I get some of the ideas that he's talking, like, I mean, I don't necessarily agree.
You get some of these ideas?
Well, I don't agree with the ideas necessarily.
You just get them.
But I understand what Uwe Boll is trying to say a little bit, I think, but it's so muddled.
That's weird. They add German into reducing the population.
Right.
Here's our first sign for everything.
It's Bill Williamson's final solution. Oh, God. So, Rampage 2, Capital Punishment.
I was a prisoner in Tinderville.
He starts out by saying, immediately after committing his rampage in Tenderville, Oregon, Bill Williamson disappeared and had been living off the grid for years with the money he stole from the bank during the massacre. The video recording of his rants about violent population control had since garnered millions of views and turned Bill into an internet sensation. Oh, God. He's bigger than keyboard cats.
Lonely Bill 15.
Right? In the present day, Bill uses the stolen money to finance yet another killing spree, purchasing a number of weapons, including 2 fully automatic military-grade MK-18 Mod 0 carbines.
I hope there's like a sequence of him buying weapons with like a pretty woman playing in the background. That seems like it'd be in the movie. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if that came up.
like a montage of putting on clothes, but it's just him buying weapons.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Huey Boll, if you want that for the next one,
he's got a friend with him, and he's modeling this like giant AR like rifle or something, and the guy's just shaking his head no, it doesn't look good.
I mean, Roy Orbison's estate would probably take anything at this point. Just because they've used that song in so many things.
After making final preparations for the killing spree, Bill shaves his head clean, dons his suit of body armor, and sets the interior of his house on fire. He's big about destroying things.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
He drives to an alleyway and uses its cover to shoot several random pedestrians undetected, before trying to enter a bingo hall, only to leave after finding it closed. His obsessions with bingo halls.
Yeah, we discovered he was really into bingo halls.
Is Uwe Boll trying to make a point about bingo? I don't know. Oh, Bill then, and what was he going to do? He didn't kill the elderly people last time. He just wanted to go in and get another sandwich.
Yeah.
And just to taunt them. He in addition to killing a bunch of pedestrians, he likes to taunt old people about how close they are to death. Bill then travels to a television station in Washington, D.C., where he blows up his car and enters the building inside. He shoots the security guard and several employees with the carbines. He then holds the survivors, including news anchorman Chip Parker.
Yeah, Chip Parker.
Just so it's that Uwe Boll I don't know American names thing. Chip Parker. Oh, and he forces.
We should buy the rights to this and make it into like a cartoon, or like a comedy cartoon.
Oh my god.
And then we could sell it to Netflix.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, we could get some of that $8 billion they've been spending.
And we'll credit the script to Chip Parker.
Oh my god. Oh, he forces them to a basement at gunpoint. He kills one of the hostages when he disregards one of his orders. Bill later gives Chip a disc and instructs him to go upstairs and air the contents of the disc nationwide, then return with a camera crew so they can do a live interview with him. Chip agrees and leaves the basement, where he relays his instructions to the responding police officers. However, while trying to air the disc, he accidentally slips and breaks it. He returns to the basement and tells Bill what happened, and an agitated Bill gives him a duplicate of the disc.
Yeah, we just realized this part just makes no sense at all.
This is another one
Like
where
he was going to do something. He's like, I can't do that. He just has another disc.
yeah,
He can't go back and change it. He's got to just continue along.
he creates a problem that then he can't figure out a solution for. So he's like, okay, well, he just has another disc then.
You don't want to change what he did in the first place? No?
Never change. While Chip is gone, Bill criticizes one of the hostages for her personal life before killing her, which is just insult to injury. If you're gonna kill her anyway, why make her feel bad?
Yeah, it's not enough to take her life.
Oh,
You weren't very popular at all.
he is then confronted by another hostage who reveals herself to be the sister of one of the people he killed in Tenterville. Which
That's quite a coincidence.
such bad luck. That's like that girl that lived through one of the worst tornadoes ever on her college campus, and then went home, and then another tornado just as bad hit her hometown.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Oh, she lived though. A lot of other people didn't.
Yeah.
When she
Way to bring it down, Mark.
when she expresses her intent to kill him, Bill forces a reluctant male hostage to beat her. Eventually, the contents of the discs are aired on live television. In it, Bill rants in a video recording about how the current system is flawed and that the U.S. government is manipulating American citizens and events for the sake of wealth. The video ends with Bill appealing to the American people to retaliate violently against politicians and the wealthy in order to restore society. Yeah, nothing says restore society like violent revolution. Meanwhile,
I don't feel that if you're actually ranting, you're using the word flawed.
right?
No, this system is rather flawed. I'm going a bit of a rant here.
The only one who can be that articulate while ranting is Dennis Miller.
Or Macho Man, Randy Savage, rest in peace.
Hey, babe. Meanwhile, the officers manage to contact Bill's father with the intention of using him to appeal to Bill. Chip returns to the basement with a camera crew, including an undercover police officer, and gives Bill a cell phone with his father on the other end. Mr. Williamson tries to appeal to Bill, then reveals his mother died after a car accident as a result of medication she had been taking for depression following Bill's first killing spree and disappearance. I guess this is Uwe Boll saying, don't take depression medication.
I don't know.
At that,
Speaking of not taking depression medication, I was listening to a local radio station earlier today. Or it was yesterday, and one of the commercials was sponsored by the Church of Scientology.
oh God.
I don't think that'd be a very successful ad anyway, because I don't think people are like, oh, I like them now.
Right? Oh, God. At that moment, yep.
Please don't sue us.
Church of Scientology, yeah.
Yeah. Chip Parker wrote this part.
That's right. Find Chip Parker. At that moment, Bill becomes suspicious of the undercover officer and kills him. Then abruptly ends the conversation with his father. That's such a weird sequence of events. What did the guy do to make him suspicious, first of all? And then he's just on the phone with his dad, murders a guy, and is like, oh, I gotta go, Dad. Using
He's still unnamed father, Mr.
Right.
Williamson.
using
No first name.
using hidden security cameras he implanted earlier. Again, another one of Uwe Boll's. Oh, okay, what I got to do to make this work?
Yeah, that's right.
He notices SWAT teams converging on the basement and remotely detonates explosives, killing or incapacitating the officers. At Chip's urging, Bill commences with the live interview, during which he becomes more specific about his rants in the disc and also espouses his opinions about killing innocent people. Asked if he regrets not being there when his mother died, he gets visibly upset, but replies that his aim is bigger than family, and that this is about the survival of humanity, by killing all of humanity, apparently. He then reveals his intention to die along with Chip before shooting him in the arm and releasing the other hostages.
Chip!
Bill immediately engages a SWAT team in a shootout before fleeing into the building's ventilation system, leaving behind a gas bomb. A ventilation system again. That old trick where you can just go into the ventilation system and get wherever you want to. Just as the SWAT team discovers the bomb, it detonates, destroying the entire station and killing everyone inside, including Chip and the officers. Bill is then shown to be alive and well, watching a report of the station's destruction on his phone. As he does this, he spots a young girl reading a book and criticizes her for reading. Bill then gives her a pistol and instructs her how to use it to kill her parents and then herself before sending her off with a look of satisfaction on his face.
This guy's pretty confident to think that he'll just briefly talk to someone and I'm like, okay, I'll go kill my parent and myself and not just walk off.
Right. But it's so funny to me. It's like, what does this mean? Like he criticizes her for reading. It's like, don't get any information in your brain at all. Just take this gun, kill your parents, and then kill yourself. And how is that helping humanity?
It only helps the military-industrial complex.
Apparently. So the last film, there's an interesting story about this. So funds for the third film, entitled Rampage 3: No Mercy, which it's not titled that anymore, were being raised by Boll through the crowdfunding website Indiegogo. According to him, the second film didn't garner enough interest to warrant another sequel being funded. Which, as I said, that's kind of the indication, don't make another one. If enough people didn't like it and didn't go to it, why are you making another movie then? And he needed help from the crowdfunding to complete the trilogy. The goal of the campaign was to raise $100,000 in funding. Boll also noted that even $50,000 in donations would guarantee the film be made. However, the campaign failed, raising only $6,000 of the $100,000 goal.
Not a single dollar of that sincere.
No, not at all. Boll restarted his fundraising on the film on Kickstarter and lowered the goal to $50,000. However, with the new funding campaign not raising enough funding, Boll released 2 videos on YouTube ranting against the fan base and Hollywood, as well as announcing that the third film will begin shooting in January 2016.
Whether you want it or not, it's coming.
It's so funny too because he releases 2 videos on YouTube ranting against the fans and Hollywood, and he's ranted a lot on the internet. It just seems like Uwe Boll is Bill Williamson, just he doesn't have the guts to shoot a bunch of people.
He's a very interesting person, I think.
So the plot of, and you know, it doesn't say how long this movie is, but considering how short this plot is,
it's too long. That's how long it is. It's way too long.
I'm guessing it's like a 60-minute film, though. But 3 years.
I like how he had the balls to say retired.
Yeah.
Like people are like, just swarming after him. No, I'm retired. Okay. Damn, there goes Rampage 4.
3 years after his second killing spree at a TV station in Washington, D.C., following which he was presumed dead in a massive explosion, Bill Williamson returns from hiding. Oh, by the way, this is called Rampage 3: President Down. Bill Williamson returns from hiding and, using a sniper rifle, assassinates the President of the United States, as well as the Vice President and the Secretary of Defense, parentheses, which happens off camera.
That's the best part.
Nothing that we need to see, just, oh, yeah, he also killed the Vice President and the Secretary of Defense.
He's like, oh my God, you killed the president? He's like, oh, I also killed the vice president and secretary of defense. That was in the other room.
While hiding out at his hut in a nearby woods, Bill then taunts the authorities, preparing for a final assault in which he expects to die as a martyr of his own cause. Cause unknown. Further establishing his iconic legacy. At the climax, Bill takes on and kills dozens more policemen who assault his strong point in the woods, but after killing off all the police, Bill is fatally wounded and later dies. However, news of his death prompts thousands of people all across the U.S. to finally act upon their anger towards the elite and wealthy people, as instructed in Bill's former video statements, resulting in nationwide chaos. It ends with a TV station reporting on all the mass shootings and chaos before the station itself is attacked by a gunman who approaches the camera and claims that Williamson changed his life before shooting the camera. And that is the end of the Rampage trilogy, which in no way glorifies the military-industrial complex, unlike the Rampage movie that's about animals getting turned into monsters and The Rock fighting against them.
You know, Uwe Boll lives in Vancouver, British Columbia now.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
My wife has a brother that lives in British Columbia.
I hear it's very nice out there. I like to visit.
I want to see if we can. His name's David. I want to see if we can contact.
Shout out!
I want to see if we can contact him and see if he can get an interview with Uwe Boll. Find Uwe Boll and get an interview with him. Oh, that'd be great.
Nice. That would be great.
I want to talk to you about the military-industrial complex. Oh God, British Columbia. Nice area.
Nice area.
But you know what else is nice? Is our sponsor for this episode. Our sponsor all month is Collector Mount. And Collector Mount is your place to go. CollectorMount.com or ComicMount.com. Either one gets you there. But, it's your place to go if you want to mount your DVDs, Blu-rays, and records up on the wall. Those, Mike, I know you've got one for your comic book, right?
Yeah, I bought one, and I did use our code, massive, or is it late fee 25?
Yeah, it's late fee 25.
Yeah, late fee 25. I got 25% off, and as I may have mentioned before, my wife for Christmas got me the Archie versus Predator comics. I only wanted the one, but she got me all of them, so that's nice.
Yeah. And
so I have mounted the Predator and Archie drinking malts at the malt shoppy one, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, and I've seen it too. It looks really cool.
It just looks like it's kind of like just floating in the air. It's really kind of neat. You really don't even see the mount because it's like see-through plastic, and it's like, and it's not very. Like, it's very, like, kind of low to the ground, too, so it's really just like, oh, that's weird that comic book is hanging at an odd angle without falling.
Yeah, that's awesome. But, they, if you've got comic books or, like we said, with everything streaming nowadays and everything, the old records, the old Blu-rays, the old video game packages and things like that have this great artwork on it are now just relegated to closets everywhere. You get some collector mounts, make a little collage out of your stuff and put it up on your wall. It really sets a room apart. It really, is a great conversation piece. And, people come over and they're like, oh my gosh, what is that? That's really cool looking. And, it just, if you've got a she shed or a man cave or a regular room,
Auschwitz Cave, which isn't nearly as funny today when it's out of context.
No, I know. It sucks. Yeah, I mentioned that Uwe Boll Because Uwe Boll has a movie called Auschwitz, so I mentioned that I said something that Uwe Boll's probably calls his room an Auschwitz room, and then you turned it into Auschwitz cave,
Yeah.
which just makes it even better.
I don't know why it just does.
But yeah, so if you've got an Auschwitz cave, if you're Uwe
And
Boll,
stop listening to our show if you have an Auschwitz cave.
yeah.
I'm gonna go on record.
But this show is sponsored by Collector Mount, introducing the new DVD Blu-ray movie Blu-ray mount. With the Collector Mount products, you can now mount it all. You can mount display movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, magazines, trading cards, albums, comic books, CDs, books, and video games. There are 5 different mounting options to choose from. The DVD movie Blu-ray mount is a clear adjustable frame system. You can get those movies up on your wall or onto any flat surface, as it can be used as either a wall mount, which is adjustable, or a shelf stand. It's the perfect display option and also pops your collectibles off the wall, driving a cool 3D effect in the design. It's invisible, it's easy to install, it's adjustable, and it's affordable at just $4.99. You have to check these out. Collector Mount is offering our listeners a 25% off coupon for all their products. The coupon code is LateFee25. And you can use this code by going to collectormount.com. The coupon is available into February, so hurry up and check out these products. Again, go to collectormount.com and use coupon code LateFee25. I cannot recommend Collector Mount enough. I think all you guys out there that have comic book collections, or like I said, even movies, Blu-rays, DVDs, laser discs, get them up on your wall. I mean, 25% off, $4.99. It is absolutely worth the investment, and you will see for yourselves how much it can transform your room. But now we will get into our main topic of the day, which is streaming shows. So these are shows that are either on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube. I know that DC has their own one, and obviously Disney's is coming out, but it's not out yet. It's coming out later this year. But I don't have. I think the DC is. I don't know if it's Warner's, or I think it's DC specifically, but I don't have that one, nor do I want it. So we won't be talking about any of those ones. But yeah, these are streaming originals. I have one that's kind of a cheat that I'll talk about later, but I think it still sort of counts.
What all streaming services do you have right now?
I have Hulu, Amazon Prime, Netflix. I have those 3.
I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and with Xfinity, you get HBO Go essentially. So I have HBO Go, which HBO is pretty amazing for on demand, at least on Xfinity, because every show they've ever done, they have every single episode for free. They don't a lot of things will charge you for last season's episodes, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Everything is for free. So if you like their shows, and they have a lot of really good shows, I really highly recommend HBO Go.
Yeah, I had HBO Now for a little while, which is the one that you get if you don't have an HBO subscription. And it's the same thing. You can, I had it when the new season of, not Arrested Development, Curb Your Enthusiasm came out. So I could watch the new season.
Yeah.
But they have HBO Now is the same way. If you don't have, if you either don't have cable or you just don't have an HBO subscription, HBO Now is the exact same thing. They have all their shows, every single episode. It's all included in the price. And it's not, I think it was, I want to say HBO Now was $10 a month or something like that. So it's not super expensive.
Yeah, that's what, and if with Game of Thrones, you could wait till all the new episodes are out if you're a big fan. Which good luck waiting that long, and then just rent it for, pay $10 for 1 month and just binge every episode. I mean, it's very reasonable for the amount of content they have. Absolutely,
and it's probably something that I'll be getting again soon. I want to figure out exactly how many streaming services we want to get, but we don't have cable anymore, so
okay.
We actually, I guess this does kind of count as a streaming service, I suppose, but we have YouTube TV. That's what our TV is.
Yeah, I would say so.
But yeah,
Did you get sports with that?
yeah, we get you get all the regular basically with YouTube TV. This is going to sound like a commercial for YouTube TV, but I really do like it. It's we pay $49 a month for it, and it is all local channels. So you get all the sports with that, and then they've got I don't even remember exactly all the channels they have, but they've got it's sort of in different sections where they have like a sports section. So they have Fox Sports Detroit. They have
Wow, that's really my biggest like a reason to avoid wanting to go entirely cable subscriptionless is because of FSD exactly. I watch the Tigers games all summer.
Yeah. So they have Fox Sports Detroit. They have all the ESPNs, and they have like ESPNU, ESPN Classic. They have some sports stuff that I never got on any cable package that I was on. Some of the ESPN ones, and then they have like AMC, so I can watch Better Call Saul, which is basically the one of the main reasons I got it was so that
Yeah.
I could see that as it came out. But so they have AMC, they have TNT, TBS. They have basically it's like an extended basic cable package.
Yeah, it sounds like it, huh?
And then the other thing too is you can record anything that you want to record, and it's basically like a bottomless DVR because it's all stored in their things, like it's in the cloud or whatever, So there's no limit on how much you can record or how much you can save, and you can just
Oh wow, that's cool.
you can just go to a show and say, I want to record this one and add it to the things, and it will record it all like anytime it's on. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
But yeah, so the first one that I'll talk about, I'll kind of try to keep it in the same order as we did before, I think. But Jessica Jones, which is on Netflix, it's for those of you that don't know, it's one of the Marvel shows that are on Netflix, part of the Marvel universe. And my wife and I watched the first season of this, which is very, very good. I haven't finished the second season. I started it. The second season's not nearly as good as the first season was, but she plays a private detective that has superpowers, and it's not fully explained in season one exactly how she got superpowers. It's kind of explained, but not fully. But she's basically super strong, and she's not invulnerable. She can get hurt and shot and stuff like that, but she has the super strength as the biggest one. And so most of the first season is kind of a mystery, and there's a lot of really good characterization in it. Kristen Ritter is the star of it, who was in Breaking Bad as Jane. That was her name, right? You reminded me yesterday. I think it's Jane.
Yeah, Jane.
But yeah, Jesse's girlfriend who overdosed on the heroin, and she is very good in it. And then Luke Cage, who I also watched the first season of that, which was really good, but couldn't get into the second season again. He's in it because they do these Marvel shows do a lot of crossover stuff. But I would definitely recommend season 1 of Jessica Jones. You don't need to know anything about Marvel movies because they don't really reference the movies at all. And you don't need to know anything about any other properties or anything. It's just a really good standalone season 1 thing. And Mike, I think you talked about how you watched The Punisher, right?
Yeah, I did. On Netflix, I read comics when I was younger. I was never really super into them, I wouldn't say. But my favorite was probably always The Punisher. But like, there was a movie in the late 80s, early 90s with Dolph Lundgren, the great Dolph Lundgren, I should say.
Yep.
The Punisher. I like that one, but it's not really close to the comic book. Like, it's just like a movie that, like, I don't think anyone's ever really captured the Punisher very good on any, type of like film or, TV service. And this is no exception. Like, the Punisher is like super angsty, and like this one they have like the violence is almost like cartoonish, which I'm not 100% opposed to, but it's like in the Punisher itself, there's just so much blood and gore. It's like over the top and that sort of thing. But he's really more, I think, like an anti-hero than like a good person with problems. Like he's basically like a murderer. He started as a villain,
Yeah, I agree.
And the point's not to emphasize with him; it's to think like, oh my god, this guy is really, going beyond the law. He's like an insane person, but somehow he just became like, oh, he's good, whatever.
Yeah, it's sort of the same thing that they did with Venom. I don't know if you ever read any of the Venom comics or not, but
Not really.
Venom started off as basically a villain, and then it went along, I think, like late 90s, early 2000s or something. He was working for the government, and he could control his rage by giving him chocolate. just like the weirdest fucking thing ever. But
Right.
but yeah, like they seem to do that with a lot of the ones that maybe came out of Image Comics, or some of like more of the influential writers in the 90s, like Frank Miller and what's his name, Grant Morrison, and some of those guys.
Yeah, Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, and they seem to take a lot of those characters and they end up neutering them at some point, and I think they've done the same thing with the Punisher. And I agree. I've actually read a few Punisher comics, and I don't think they've ever captured the essence of that character at all. I mean, it's more Walter White, like towards the end, than it is like Jesse Pinkman, I guess, if you follow my drift. You know what I mean? Like he's not supposed to be, you're supposed to kind of hate him and like disagree with a lot of stuff he's doing.
Like he's supposed to be like almost like the character in Rampage, where he's just like some crazy guy, but he's like always like sympathetic. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the original intention was that he's just always like I mean, obviously he's a person who takes justice to the extreme, but I don't know. Just like it's always like in the comics, like they gradually be like, oh, it's drug dealers, and because I think originally he was in either Wolverine or Spider-Man. I think it was Wolverine, and it was like he was like just like an insane person. Like I don't know. Like, have you ever seen RoboCop 2?
Yes.
You know, in RoboCop, he's like crazy programming. He's like shooting a guy, he's like cigarette out of his mouth and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Like, I think he almost came off as like he's like a hyper abides by the rules, that sort of thing, in the initial appearances.
Yeah, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is kind of my theory on it. It seems to me that the creation of the Punisher is basically like, what if Batman, but like he's freaking insane and he kills people? Because it's like he just takes everything to the nth degree, and I think it's supposed to be kind of like, yeah, maybe he's killing people that are breaking the law and stuff like that, but should drug dealers be getting shot in the head for what they're doing? Like I think it's, you're supposed to think more about that than you're supposed to think, oh, what a cool guy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because actually just like the other day I was reading this article about this guy who I guess he searched like sex offender registries, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And and then he went and murdered like 2 sex offenders,
Wow.
Yeah, and then but then they found he had visited the homes of at least 4 others. Like they didn't say if he had they weren't home or what happened,
Mm-hmm.
So this guy's going around just following the sex offender list and just killing people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's kind of the moral quandary that the Punisher is supposed to be. More something like, I mean, it sounds really weird, but I mean, there's a lot of, it's not a very cut and dry issue, I would say.
No, I agree. And, I have, I mean, not to get off on a political rant, but I have problems with the sex offender registry for a couple reasons. I don't like that. I have a friend, or a former friend, that when he was 18 years old, he was staying the night at somebody's house, and he was outside smoking a cigarette, and he had to go to the bathroom. He was on their porch. So he ended up urinating off of their porch. It just so happened that 2 16-year-old girls were on their porch next door. This was late at night, probably like 2 a.m. or something like that. And I guess they told their parents about it or whatever. Anyway, the police were called. He was arrested and stuff like that. He only served probation for, I think, indecent exposure or something like that. But he ended up having to be on the sex offender registry for the rest of his life. That's not the same thing as molesting a child. I'm not saying that he was... yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the problem with all of this is the scale. And of course, it doesn't help that legit offenders, who would flash themselves they tell the same story that people who are legitimately just like going to the bathroom would say, like, oh, I was just going to the bathroom, that's why I had it out. I mean,
Right.
you have no way of telling if it's like a flasher type person or just like someone who's legitimately using the restroom, which it's not ideal, but I mean sometimes you just don't want to piss your pants.
Yeah, and I that's one of the reasons that I don't like the sex offender registry. The other reason is that I think that people, and I mean this is probably a controversial take. I'm sure there will be people that don't agree with me on this. You might be one of them, maybe, I don't know. But I think that the people that actually are pederasts and people that actually, have this mental disorder that they want to have sex with children and stuff, at least as far as I've seen, I don't think it can be cured. So I think people like that should never get out of jail.
See, that's the problem is, I mean, but then at the same time, I mean, you don't want to say someone's innocent of their actions, but I mean, if they're literally incurable, I mean, this is obviously not the best place to find an in-depth research of this topic,
Right.
Entertainment podcast.
Right.
I mean, it's so difficult. I mean, because, I mean, let's be honest here. At a certain point, you're just kind of lying to yourself. If you say this person can be rehabilitated, and the recidivancy level is like it's like an insanely high percentage of people who do the same thing. I mean, they just can't stop themselves. I mean, it'd be like if you're heterosexual, stopping yourself from wanting to have sex with other people of the opposite sex, or actually a homosexual wanting to have sex with attractive people of the same sex. I mean, can you stop that? I couldn't. I mean, if that was just how you were wired, if there was some part of your brain that was forever twisted, and they are forever twisted, you don't come back from that somehow. It's insane.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think and maybe jail's not the place for them. Maybe they need some sort of long-term mental health facility where they just stay for the rest of their lives. But I do think, and I'm not talking about all types of people that are on the sex offender list. I'm talking specifically about people who have the desire to molest children. I think
see the problem. Just to be the phrase desire, I mean, I have desire to do all sorts of fucked up things, not molest children, but I mean...
Compulsion is maybe a better word.
Yeah, compulsion is a better word, but I mean, at the same time, people who have a desire, that's almost bad enough to just prevent any future instances from happening,
Mm-hmm.
Which is really fucked up because, as you're aware, I'm a libertarian mostly when it comes to the Constitution and that sort of thing. You shouldn't be prosecuted for thought crimes or arrested or put in an institution. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if someone legitimately has this thing and the odds of them acting out on it are more than 50% or even more than 1%, don't you have a responsibility to kind of deal with them or track them or do something?
Yeah, that's definitely a very interesting moral question. Something that would take. I mean, we could do a podcast on that on its own, I think.
It's almost like just to relate it back to movies. I'm sure you've seen the movie The Minority Report.
Yeah, I thought of that when you said that. Yep.
Yeah, how it's. I mean, they have these quote unquote psychics who know this is going to happen, but they're arresting people before something actually happens. It's such a weird and interesting, like, philosophical question. I mean, if you know someone's going to do something, should you punish them or should you be able to punish them?
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's going towards a marathon, or a parade with a bunch of nitroglycerin white around their chests and you arrest them, obviously you think they're going to do something terrible so they can go to jail for that. What's the difference?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, 'cause if you see someone, let's say you see someone walking into a school with, an assault rifle or something like that. If you were a police officer, or even you'd call the police, or if you had a gun of your own, you would try to do something, I would assume. And if you were a policeman and you saw that, obviously you'd try to stop the person. They haven't committed a crime yet, really. So, it's like, yeah, I agree. It's a very similar type of situation. But yeah, I think people like that should be removed from society because they can't, whether you want to say it's their fault or not, or it was just circumstance of how they were born because their brain is just messed up in such a way. In any case, unfortunately, there are people in society that just don't fit into our society, and they can't be rehabilitated, in jail, and they need to be removed in some way to where they're not around it. I saw an episode of Lockup one time where this guy, and I actually, it was like the first time ever I felt bad for a child molester. But this guy was in there. They were doing an interview with him, and he was saying his parole hearing was coming up. And he said to the cameraman, he was like, I do not want them to parole me. He's like, I don't want to get out of here because I know that if they let me out, I will do this again. And I don't want to, but I just have to, kind of thing. And I was like, fuck, I mean, like, that kind of like opened my eyes to the thing. I was like, there are, people out there that have a conscience that are just compulsed to do messed up stuff like this, and they just need to be removed from society.
That might be the worst possible scenario for a human being, to have a compulsion to do something that is just like repulsive.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and like I said, it doesn't seem like that's necessarily the norm for people that have this mental disorder, but this guy both had a conscience and knew what he was doing was wrong, but also could not stop doing it. Like, as an extreme example to sort of like what you were talking about, it would be like if you knew that eating was morally wrong, but you couldn't stop doing it.
That's so like insane. Like, just the wide range and variety of like brains human beings.
Yeah. But yeah, so getting on to some more.
Anyways, The Rock.
To bring it back to comedy, so another no, I'm not gonna. I could go into Big Mouth talking about kids and sex, but that's probably not a good transition.
I don't even know how we got on that subject.
I don't know at all. I don't remember. I'll remember I'll figure it out when I'm editing this and listening to it again. But okay, I'll do this one next. So there are two that are kind of related here. One's on Netflix and one's on Hulu. There are Black Mirror and Dimension 404. Now, Black Mirror is my cheat one because originally it aired on the BBC, obviously. But they do have, like you pointed out yesterday, Mike, they do have some originals that are just for Netflix. And basically the only way that you can see them in America, I guess because I don't even think they're on BBC America. Maybe some reruns are. But the easiest way to see it is on Netflix. But they're both Twilight Zone-y type shows, and Black Mirror is the one, in my opinion, that's far superior. Dimension 404, the one on Netflix, is hosted by Mark Hamill. We never see him. He does the voiceover of it, but he kind of plays the Rod Serling character where he has a little like setup narration at the beginning and a closing narration at the end. But so he has that kind of Rod Serling.
Do you think anyone does a Mark Hamill impersonation?
I don't know. That's I've never heard anyone do it. I mean, he does. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd recognize if someone was trying to do one, though.
Oh yeah, for sure, because he does have a recognizable voice.
I'm sorry. I was watching a lot of Norm Macdonald videos, and obviously with the passing of Super Dave.
Yep.
I was watching videos, and he was doing impressions of Super Dave, and that is a good impression.
Oh yeah, he does a really good impression.
Norm's really good at impressions in general, which is kind of funny because I don't think he would ever put them in his act.
Yeah, it is funny because you never really, like, he did Bob Dole and David Letterman on Saturday Night Live, and I think that was it. And I think both those were...
Burt Reynolds.
Oh yeah, Burt Reynolds too, that's right. And I think Burt Reynolds he probably liked doing, but I think the other two were kind of reluctant, like they wanted him to do something, Yeah,
he actually deliberately created the Celebrity Jeopardy sketch because he wanted to do Burt Reynolds, and that's the only concept to get the go.
That's so awesome.
And I guess it was actually an SCTV sketch originally, and I think it was Martin Short's brother that wrote it. So Norm actually contacted him and asked for permission to do it.
Yeah,
and the guy said it was okay because it was kind of cool that he did that.
I love that Norm does a bunch of like esoteric and really like not well known impressions. Like he started one episode with Stephen Merchant of Norm Macdonald live, he starts by doing a William F. Buckley impersonation. There are so few people in the age group that are watching this that know who William F. Buckley is or what he sounded like. And it's just hilarious.
It's a shame they removed all the Norm show from YouTube or Norm Macdonald Lives, because there were some funny episodes of that show.
The Stephen Merchant one was one of the funniest ones because I think, maybe next to Super Dave, I think Super Dave's was probably the best, but Stephen Merchant seemed to kind of understand what Norm was doing, and he really played a very good straight man to what Norm Macdonald was doing, because he's like, I'm sure you've seen the one, but like he's talking about Michael Jackson and what's his name, Seville, the guy that turned out English.
Right, I can't remember his name, the British announcer guy. He was like a pederast.
Yeah, but he's like, and Stephen Merchant issues several apologies to different groups of people and stuff, and he's just like, oh, I thought we were going to talk about fun stuff, and just like, I don't know. That was one of the better episodes. I love.
I actually have a different opinion on this. I feel that Stephen Merchant didn't get what was going on. I think Norm is often on his own level that no one else was actually matching.
Yeah. I think he didn't fully understand what Norm was doing, but I think he maybe sort of did, but in either way, I think he reacted very humorously to it.
Oh yeah. Because at one point he's like, oh look, Norm, another white bloke, and Norm just completely just went sidetrack and look at his face like, uh-oh.
Oh my god. But so the Dimension 404 is like, the thing that I don't like about it is, in the first episode, like I told you yesterday, it's an interesting concept for an episode, but basically this guy can't find any woman, and he has a very specific idea of what he wants in a woman, and his roommate, who's played by Badger from Breaking Bad, he gets him on this thing called Matchmaker, and he finds this girl. They go out for a couple months. He says that he's gonna tell her that he loves her and wants to get married and all this stuff. And his roommate's like, oh, calm down, play it cool and stuff like that. He doesn't, and then we see the woman press this like X button on her app, the Matchmaker app, and people come and take him away and everything. And it turns out that this guy is a clone. They've been making clones, and what it is you can sign up for this app if you're a real person and basically construct your perfect match, and they will deliver that to you. And if you're not satisfied, you can reject it and then get another one. And this was the 5th version of this guy that she was on. And so stuff, happens from there. I won't ruin it because it's actually a decent idea for the first episode. But what I don't love about it is the cinematography is just, that's the biggest thing that I have against, especially this first episode. And Black Mirror is really shot beautifully with rich cinematography and everything. And this first episode of Dimension 404, it's all very flat shots, flat lighting, and it looks like a sitcom or something like that. And it's one of the first things that I've watched as I've been getting more and more into film and learning more about the technical stuff, where I've noticed how the cinematography really affects something, and the tone that something that's shot flat like that gives is a more lighter comedic tone. And that's not what this show is. It's a darker show. And even like the Twilight Zone, even with the technology that they had then, they shot with better cinematography, more depth of field and things like that, just richer cinematography that gave that tone. And the Dimension 404 is not as serious as Black Mirror is, or as the Twilight Zone usually was, but it still doesn't quite hit the right tone, and it doesn't quite hit the highs. And like I told you yesterday, it reminds me more of the Tales from the Dark Side show than it does than it does the Twilight Zone. Black Mirror is more Twilight Zone-y. So I think it has its place. I've only seen a couple episodes of it so far. I'm probably going to give it a little bit more of a chance, but it's definitely Black Mirror is far superior. Did you had some other one that you watched too, right?
Yeah, it's this show called The Hot Ones. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting format. It's I should have looked up his name, but I didn't. The host asks the guest 10 questions, and he has 10 different hot sauces of increasingly, hotter sauces.
Right.
And the questions also get more intrusive the higher he goes.
That's so awesome. I so want to watch this show.
And he has some pretty big guests, like Kevin Hart was on there. Some comedians I like Tom Segura was on there. Like Tiffany Haddish, I'm not sure who that is, but I think she's a popular celebrity. She was on there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like the host or his staff do an amazing job of interviewing people. Like he asks questions, and you can tell the guests are sometimes surprised at how in depth the question was. Mm-hmm. And he seems to have no hot stuff seems to not have any effect on him at all. So he's just sitting there fine. The guests are just sweating and exploding, their faces just turn immediately red. And the music is perfectly queued up to just crescendo when you could tell the hot sauce hits him at this exact moment. It's a really great show. I love it. Gordon Ramsay is going to be on the next episode, which I think is on the 24th of January. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to watch that. I really enjoy this show. How about you? Any other streaming service shows you're watching?
Well, that one, the one you're talking about, the Hot Ones, is on YouTube. And I'm definitely going to check that out. I'll probably check that out tonight. The two YouTube ones that I like a lot. There's a few different things that I watch on YouTube from time to time, but Red Letter Media, which we've talked about before, I think is maybe one of the best YouTube channels out there. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. Sean Evans is the interviewer on the Hot Ones.
Okay, cool. But yeah, Red Letter Media is Mike Stolklasa, Jay Bauman, and Rich Evans. There are other people that kind of come in and out, but those are
brother of Sean Evans, Rich Evans,
right? But those are the three mainstays, and the brilliance of the show is they talk about a sort of similar stuff to what we do, kind of, where they do movie reviews. They have a movie review show called Half in the Bag. They have a show called Best of the Worst, where they take three old movies, usually from the 80s, that are on VHS, and a lot of it's horror stuff or action stuff, and they and some of them are just horrible, like movies you've never heard of, from direct to VHS movies from the 80s, that and they judge which one is the best of the worst movies, and then they judge which one's the worst, and they just usually destroy the one that's the worst. But the comedy is what really makes it, and they've been friends for a long time, and the chemistry between the three hosts and how they play off each other comedically is what really sells it. And one of the other ones that I watch is on Screen Rant called Movie Pitch, and it's by a guy named Ryan George, who does he's got a green screen that looks like a movie studio office, and he plays both parts. The camera just cuts back and forth, and it's him being a screenwriter pitching a movie, and then it cuts to the producer, which is him without glasses on, that makes comments and everything. And it's usually a movie that's just come out, or he usually finds some kind of tie-in to stuff that's happening now, and he basically uses it to poke holes in different movies, and so different plot holes they have and everything. But he is very funny. I don't watch anything else on Screen Rant, I don't think, but his show, Movie Pitch, is really good, and that's something that I think a lot of people should check out. The other things that I watched is I've got three more, and two I'll do as a pair, and then one more I'll end on. But
I have one more too.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay. I'll do my two, and then you can do yours, and then I'll finish it.
Cool.
So I watched Big Mouth and Sex Education. Big Mouth's been out for a while. Sex Education just came out on Netflix. They're both on Netflix. Big Mouth is a lot of people I like. Nick Kroll, who was on a show called The League on FX about a fantasy football league, which was really funny. And then John Mulaney, the stand-up comedian, they've been friends for a long time. He plays his friend in it. And Maya Rudolph's in it. There are some people that I really like that are on it. Fred Armisen. And it's basically they're middle schoolers, but they're drawn like they're very young. Especially Nick Kroll's character looks like he's like 5 years old. And it's all about sex. It's all about the first episode's all about ejaculation, where John Mulaney's character has this monster that's the hormone monster that only he can see, that eggs him on to masturbate in different situations. There's he goes to a dance with this girl, and he dances with this girl, and he ejaculates in his pants dancing too close to her and stuff. And it makes me feel gross. The show does. Like, I know that they're adults, the people voicing this and stuff, and I like a lot of the things they do, and I know that some people probably find it really funny, but it's not for me. I'm not going to say that it's bad or anything, but the show's just it's not my kind of humor, and it's not really for me, and it just sort of makes me feel icky, watching it, even though they're cartoons. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it. It's like, ugh. It's like, yeah, I know. And I know what I know the message they're trying to get across about how when you're that age, puberty and everything that you're going through, seems like that. And, they're not wrong. But it's just, I don't know. I watched like 3 episodes of it and I just really couldn't get into it. But, Sex Education was really good. I watched the first episode, and then my wife watched it as well. And this is a show we'll probably continue to watch together. Similar themes, where it's they're in high school, and everyone's basically Asa Butterfield plays he's the main character, and his mother, who's played by Gillian Anderson from the X-Files.
I'm sorry, we determined he is Ender, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So anyways, Ender.
Yeah, okay, so Ender is the main character, and then Gillian Anderson from the X-Files is his mom, who's a sex therapist, and he's kind of embarrassed about her and everything. There's a plot at in the first episode at the very beginning of the first episode, where he can't masturbate. He tries, and he either he doesn't like it, or I think a lot of it has to do with his mom and stuff, and she brings a different guy home every night, basically, to where, to have sex with and stuff, and I think that plays a big role in it. But he fakes that he's masturbating by squirting lotion and stuff into tissues and stuff.
What?
So because he knows that if she doesn't think he's masturbating, that she'll ask him about it, and he does not want to talk about it. So he kind of pretends to, so that she thinks that everything's normal, but she of course figures it out right away that he's faking it. And then so he's got those issues, but he goes to school, and they're in high school, and all the students they all kind of have their own hang-ups sexually. The different ones that we meet are all having different sexual issues. We focus on 2 specific ones in the first episode. And what happens is there's this other girl who is selling tests and stuff like that to people on the side, and it's heavily implied, although I don't know yet because I haven't gotten far enough into the show, but I'd be really surprised if this isn't the case. It's heavily implied that she's probably homeless, and she really needs the money. So, by happenstance, Ender and her help this one guy to kind of get over his sexual dysfunction, and she comes up with the idea that you should be a sex therapist to the people at school. Everyone at school is having different sexual problems. They could use this. They'll pay us. We need the money and they need the help. And so that's kind of how everything is set up. And he reluctantly agrees to this because he's kind of falling for this girl. So It's a really good show. It's very well written. It's got a lot of good characters, and that's definitely one that I'm getting into. What's your other one, Mike?
That's all I had.
Oh, I thought you had one more.
No, you said two in a row last time. Oh no! You're right. It's just a continuation of what we were talking about before the show. Yesterday, I was watching a lot of Norm Macdonald videos, and I like to follow I''M space not space Norm on YouTube.
Yep, I follow him too.
I don't know where they get all these videos from. This person has like a perfect collection of every interview Norm's ever done, every TV appearance. It's great. Just follow him and start from the earliest video to the most recent, and you'll be very happy you did.
Yeah, I'm Not Norm is the biggest. I think Norm Macdonald's actually referenced I'm Not Norm on Twitter and stuff like that. Like he is legendary amongst people who are really hardcore Norm Macdonald fans, like Mike and I are. And
he's also referenced our podcast. If you'll look at our page.
Yes, that's true. Norm Macdonald has referenced our podcast. He's apparently a fan. So if you're listening, Mr. Macdonald, we're continuing to try to make good podcasts just for you.
Another bit of news is I now have a show-specific Twitter handle. I don't know how I got this, but it's at @late_Mike. That's not too bad.
No, yeah, that's good.
I went for Massive Late Fee Mike, but I got @late_Mike. I don't know how that happened, but that's pretty good.
Yeah. So, everyone go and follow @late_Mike on Twitter. And, this is the first time hearing about it too. So, that's cool. We can do some stuff on there together. And, the last show that I did was Glow. And this is another one that's been around for a little while. It's it stars Allison Brie from Community, and Mark Maron's in it as well. And Mark Maron, they're both awesome in the show. But basically, it takes place in the 80s, but it's not like the 80s are not emphasized in the show at all, which is good. It does. There's no real nostalgia factor to it. It's just set in the 80s because that's when Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, was. So
you like the 80s, right, Mark? Correct. You like the 80s?
I do, yeah. But the good thing about this show, and I watched, I think, probably 4 or 5 episodes of this, even though I was looking for other things to watch to kind of talk about here, but it really grabbed me. The show kind of, right off the bat, the writing is really good and really tight, and they establish the characters and they make you care about the characters almost instantly, and it really pulls you through. But basically, Allison Brie plays an actress, or a struggling actress that really hasn't had any roles in Los Angeles during this time period, and she gets the opportunity to be in this Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling that's just starting up. Mark Maron is the director, and he's kind of creating it, and she takes it, and one of her friends is also in it, and there's some conflict there that I don't want to ruin or anything. But it's a very good show. It's one that I will definitely continue to watch. I told my wife she should watch it, and she's like, yeah, I don't have any interest in that. Because she thinks it's about wrestling. She goes, that's the one that's about the lady wrestling, right? And I said, yeah. And she goes, yeah, I don't want to watch that. And I said, I think you'll like it. So if you guys have been holding off on seeing it because you're not into lady wrestling, it's very little about that, and it's more about the interpersonal relationships of these women, and Mark Maron being kind of crazy and an asshole. Like his character is perfect for his persona, and it's a very good show. So that's also on Netflix, and that's the last one that I watched. So that is the show again for this week.
Yeah.
But as I said on the show that you guys will probably never hear, maybe if I'm going to continue to try to work on it a little bit, Mike, to get your volume up to maybe even like if you strain, you can hear it levels, and put it up on Patreon as like an exclusive, just Patreon thing, if people are interested in hearing it. But
That was a really good podcast.
yeah, it was. But this one was
Unlike
good.
this one.
But we've experienced in the last week especially, but the last couple weeks really, but especially this last week, a big uptick in listeners, which we're very glad about. And I think it's a combination of different things. Marketing on Twitter and Facebook, which I've been doing a lot of, but also just word of mouth stuff. And I'm really bad at this call to action stuff or whatever you're supposed to do at the end of the show. And obviously we love when people go to Patreon and donate to our Patreon, and that.
Hey, hate to interrupt you here, but
Yeah.
did you know my wife wants me to join Patreon so she can hear the show early?
That's awesome. I can just
That's
give
pretty
you
fun.
I can just give you the password to our Patreon so that she can listen to the show early.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have to pay for our own show.
I think I might pay though because it's more convenient. Lazy.
But yeah, obviously we're happy when you guys go to Patreon and donate, and that helps us do more giveaways, and it just helps keep the show running. So that's great, and we love.
Yeah, everyone on Patreon knows that each week Mark does a cookie recipe that you can follow along at home and make, and it's amazing. I mean, Mark just knows his shit.
That's right. Yeah, follow those tips on Patreon, and you will make your family happy with everything that you make for them. But and we like when you go to Bandcamp to listen to our commentary and stuff, and obviously following us on Twitter and following us on Facebook at Massive Late Fee on Twitter, Massive Late Fee on Facebook. That's all great. And when you write, there have been some people that have written to us, massivelatefee@gmail.com, and I will read your letters, or I will read your messages on the air soon. I'm just compiling some stuff, but I'll put that in my show notes and do that soon. And obviously keep doing that because we love that. But the biggest thing, and I think the biggest thing that has been driving the increase in listenership, again, like Mike, we added like 300 more listeners last week.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is word of mouth, is people telling other people about the podcast, and that's the biggest thing I think that you guys could do for us, is just tell other people about the podcast. Don't even wait for them to bring up podcasts. Just slip it into the conversation any way you can.
Hey, Mark, did you say that the person who won our big contest was from West Virginia?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
I was surprised that we had listeners in West Virginia.
Oh yeah, we have listeners in Australia and England too.
Oh wow! Sorry about all the hatred towards England.
We have some in Scandinavia too, which is hilarious to me.
I'm not sorry about that.
But yeah, so yeah, she was from West Virginia. Eileen, shout out to Eileen. She's a frequent listener, and she said her daughter got a big kick out of making fun of her at AOL email account. But yeah, so they listen. So shout out to them. But yeah, everyone telling your friends and family, if you enjoy the show, let them know about us, and that helps us out a lot. So if you guys could do that, that would be great. That is our show for the day. Thanks to Eileen, thanks to RJ, thanks to Leah and Miranda on Patreon. Thanks to Jason for the theme song.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Thanks to L. Ron Hubbard. Thanks to Robert Heinlein for that bet that he made with L. Ron.
That's the best.
Thanks to all of our listeners, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Shout out to Clever Lane. See you next time.